Okay, welcome all, and a special welcome to Mr. Bispadeb Chakrabarti from India, our guest speaker today. And this is our 92nd interfaith meeting, prayer and discussion to bring about understanding among different religions. Welcome all, and a special welcome to Mr. Bispadeb Chakrabarti from India. To bring about unity among different religions and their followers. I hope we can learn from Mr. Biswadeb Chakrabarti. He is doing wonderful things in India, and hopefully more and more people take action on the ground to bring about this unity. So we will start with our guest speaker today. Tracy, if you can.
Okay. Anyway, good evening, everyone. Thank you for making the time tonight. And before, we want to pause and recognise that we are in Australia. We are meeting tonight, living upon different Aboriginal tribes' land that they have been taken care of for tens of thousands of years. I'm on the Worimi people's land, and I know that they have, over all that time, they have honoured their creator and honoured the instructions they were given on how to take care of the land, which included the waters and the sky, the air, all life and all people that came upon their land. And they were in a dynamic relationship with all of those components. And they managed to keep on transmitting through all those generations, thousands of years of generations, how to have a reciprocal relationship with the land, how to care for it and allow it to care for you, and not see how much you could dominate it, but how much you could live in harmony with it and with other people. So we want to really give thanks that we benefit from their effort, and that we are sorry that many of their people were sacrificed in the making of this country. And but their knowledge and their energy and their input remains as a living energy for us today, and that there are many people that still alive that we can learn from, and we can show respect to and build relationship and friendship with. Thank you.
the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy holy presence they are all thy servants, and all mankind are sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All have gathered together at thy table of bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy providence. O God, thou art kind to all, thou hast provided for all, dost shelter all, conferrest life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree and make the nations one, so that they may see each other as one family, and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father, God, gladden our hearts through the fragrance of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word, and shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty and powerful, thou art the forgiving, and thou art the one who overlooketh the shortcomings of all mankind. Abdul Baha.
Behold, how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity. It's the dew of Hermon, and it's the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion, because there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Old Testament Psalm 133, 1-3. Happy is the birth of the Buddha. Happy is the preaching of the sublime Dharma. Happy is the unity of the Sangha. Happy is the striving of the united ones. Buddhist Dhammapada, sayings of the Buddha, 3.
Sorry, mine's not showing it up. Sorry. Sorry, it's not showing.
Would you like me to read, Mr. Perry?
Yes, Shadi, you can.
Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that persecute you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father, which is in heaven. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father, which is in heaven, is perfect. New Testament, Matthew.
And hold fast altogether by the rope which God stretches out for you. And be not divided among yourselves. And remember with gratitude God's favour on you. For ye were enemies, and he joined your hearts in love, so that by his grace ye became brethren. And ye were on the brink of the pit of fire, and he saved you from it. Thus doth God make his signs clear to you, that ye may be guided. Let there arise out of you a band of people, inviting to all that is good, enjoining what is right, and forbidding what is wrong. They are the ones to attain felicity. Be not like those who are divided among themselves and fall into disputations after receiving clear signs. Holy Quran, Surah 2, 103 to 105.
Be united, speak in harmony. Let your minds apprehend alike. Common be your prayer. Common be the end of your assembly. Common be your resolution. Common be your deliberations. Alike be your feelings. Unified be your hearts. Common be your intentions. Perfect be your unity. Rig Veda.
O children of men, know not ye why you created you, all from the same dust, that no one should exalt himself over the other. Ponder at all times in your hearts how you were created. Since we are created, you all from the same substance, it is incumbent on you to be even as one soul, to walk with the same feet, eat with the same mouth, and dwell in the same land, that from your innermost being, by your deeds and actions, the signs of oneness and the essence of detachment may be made manifest. Such is my counsel to you, O concourse of light. Heed ye this counsel, that you may attain the fruit of holiness from the tree of wondrous glory. Baha'u'llah, Arabic Hidden Words, number 68.
Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts. Join in the chord all the souls. Join in the chord all the souls. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts. joining the chord of the soul, joining the chord of the soul. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts. Joining the chord of the soul, joining the chord of the soul. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts. Joining the chord of the soul, joining the chord of the soul. Oh Lord, make these faces radiant through the light of thy oneness. Unite and bind together the hearts. Unite and bind together the hearts, the
Dr. Ashit Maitra is here, so Dr. Maitra, you can unmute and
Yes, thank you, Mr. Perry. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
so you can introduce Dr. Maitra, you can introduce Mr. Chakraborty.
Yes, as you read on the screen, it may be slightly different to what words I'm using to introduce Mr. Vishwadev Chakraborty. Mr. Chakraborty was born in a Bengali Hindu family to a yogi father. He's a graduate of accounting, an accomplished tabla player, a songwriter. But Vishwadev has witnessed intercommunal conflicts and was inspired to using music as a conduit for the innate longing of humanity for harmony. So Vishwadev founded Ek Tan, an initiative to learn music of other traditions for children before the pure mind of the children gets prejudiced with the ideas of cultural and religious differences. With this experience of success under his belt, Vishwadev then progresses to a global grassroots interfaith network under URI, which is United Religious Initiative. URI aims to connect peoples of diverse traditions through work for the common good of all. It encourages the force of motivation of being able to meet the demands of our secular life to overcome the hindrance of cross-cultural barriers. Vishwadev currently serves as the coordinator of URI's East India region. At the same time, he's also the national coordinator for all 4 regions in India. Vishwadev will tell us today about his experience of working for unity under the title, Based on my family spiritual tradition, my experience with diversity, finding common purpose in unity. With this introduction, friends, we all welcome and look forward to Vishwajit's talk to us. Thank you to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashit Mohan Maitraji, and my deep gratitude to all of you, especially Honorable Shiva Periji, of me having scheduled earlier to speak and to have this golden opportunity to be with you. Did not work because of some health issues that had happened all of a sudden. So I again bow down to all of your blessings and your prayer that helped me a lot to heal quickly from my health situation, and I'm all fine and fit. And again here today, the opportunity second time. So thank you very much again, my deep gratitude for tonight, for this evening. I hope you're all, wherever you are, doing great, and especially the call started today with the with the energy of our indigenous community, which I always treasure in my life, having such a great experience and opportunity to spend time in India around the communities of indigenous communities and so-called tribal communities. My talk today basically sharing in a more relaxing way of my growing up in a family of yogi, at the same time my work for the community development, and how my personal life has helped me to grow up in a sense of oneness, and how it was very crucial time that still we are all going through a transition. And the time of understanding the family values, being born in a yogi family, and how that values taking to the community. I was born in a family. My father was a tantric yogi. In 2012, he left his body, but he has a great follower in India, and he belongs to the order of Giri family. Giri is the mountain people. So he had his ashram in the Himalayas, and so in 2-3 other places, as well as in one of the places that I come from, my native place, where he at the last days, where he was stations in his own temple that he constructed. So growing up in a rural area in India, one of the greatest privilege that you would see being a higher caste. In India, we still have caste system, which you don't often see in the cities, but in the rural areas, there are so-called caste systems, higher caste, lower caste. So I was born in a higher caste family. So that privilege in the rural area, when you were born in a higher caste family, what strike my brain in earlier when I was in a school, that the elderly people would come forward to the temple and touch my feet. Culturally, it doesn't happen. Culturally, we touch the feet of the elderly people as a young people, as a young boys in India are taught to bow down to touch the feet of the senior. But what I was in a 4th or 5th grade, I saw this elderly lady walking forward to me, leaning down, bowing down and touching my feet. I absolutely was shocked, did not understand why I'm supposed to touch her feet as the elderly lady, but because I'm a Brahmin and she was not Brahmin. So it struck my mind, oh my God, I'm a Brahmin. Wow, how cool it is that everybody touches the feet, and you sort of try to understand. And I went to my dad and I asked Dad, I knew that culturally I'm supposed to touch the feet of other, and how this lady touching my feet. So my father said, it's all society systems. When she's touching your feet, if you touch back her feet, she would be punished in the society. How she got a pranam, a bow down from a Brahmin. She has nothing to do with it. That struck my mind that there's need to something to be done in the society. And I didn't know what to do, but we started a musical circle. I was probably very early age of my 9th or 10th grade, about 15 or 16 years of age. I started a musical group chanting in the temple. And I saw that during the music, when people started performing the drums, the bells, one drum that played by sticks and the khol, it's all a version of various drums. I found out the people from different caste and tradition playing the music together. There's no problem. So that was my first response, that the music has the language to transcend. And I started organizing small community events of music with children, especially inviting children from so-called lower caste communities and participating in one-day musical conference, assembly, teaching, sharing, learning music from each other, from different traditions, from even tribal traditions. Like we found out, the tribal people goes to the jungles to collect the leaves to make a kind of biodegradable plate, and the whistle has a meaning of communicating from each other, that in the jungle, wherever somebody is far away. So that music has a language of communication among the tribal people. We started learning that, and we started whistling to communicate each other. And that language, the barrier of the language broke. We realized that, again, the music has the strongest language to break any barrier or connect peer to peer, heart to heart. That's why we started first our movement called Ektan. We formed a cooperation circle. And coming to a big shows in a village, I invited musicians from untouchable community intentionally, thinking that why not they should come and participate. Now it's a little bit of very interesting stories of India. You have heard the community called untouchable, Dalit, or in many other ways they know. This particular community called sweeper community, which is untouchable, Dalit, the generations, their work is to carry human excreta out of the community, dump it in the dumping ground, and the children have no choices. The father has done that, so the son has to done that too. And the higher community is supposed to take the privilege. So even they go to the school, that's great. You go to the school, but you need to carry the work of your father carrying this human excreta, all the human effluents to dump with their own head. And that was very big shock to me, how in this whole modern world, still humans are working like a slave. I invited these musicians from sweeper community that we call, so-called untouchable, or so-called however you frame it. It's absolutely the most worst scenario of caste-based and descent-based discrimination. So we invited this gentleman as a drummer. And by then, I was noticed by many media about my drumming, about my music. So the music that was taking a big shape, but had a lot strength for me to go forward to approach. Else it was very difficult as a Brahmin to go and to approach a community person to invite some people from untouchable Dalit community. So I invited him to perform in a stage with me. While we were performing, we had no water, so we had to drink some water from like a bottle of water. I noticed the drummer next to me was the same person from untouchable community, had a bottle of water. I was so thirsty by drumming, I kind of snatched it bottle and opened it up on the stage, and I started drinking some water. The drummer immediately stopped drumming and snatched the bottle from me. And I thought maybe he snatched it, he didn't like me to drink his water. But that was not the story. The story was he would have been punished just because I drank the water from his bottle. It is my fault, but rather see this, the society rather punishing me, the person of untouchable community would be punished. Why you let this Brahmin guy drink the water from your bottle? So I didn't realize until after the show, I went to the green room and he folded hand, cried to me. He says, sorry, that water you had to drink, I should have bring a new bottle. I said, why? And he said, he cried. And back of the stage, I hugged him. I said, fine, it's all water. And that whole incident was noticed by senior member of the community. And senior member did not say anything. It was the first thing that we broke on the stage, was so spontaneous, was so out of love, because the music was really moved everybody on that night, on that day, the same evening. The people were so joyful. So we realized that when we allow a way of connecting to the heart to heart, people really break boundaries. And that's how we started a project called Journey of Peace, is engaging community people in a musical caravan that travel to different communities, specifically focusing, engaging those untouchable community to engage children in a music. And still Ektan is doing it. So that was my transformation of understanding how to bring unity within ourselves. Interfaith part came to my life later on after I graduated, did my master's in management. Well, I found out that about United Religions Initiative, but before then I traveled many times with my father to different areas of Himalayas. And I asked questions to my father, that how that unity that we need to find within ourselves. Each of us in a process of discovering our strength in whole life, we're trying to find out what the purpose we are here on this world. What is my purpose as a human being? I mean, that's a question resonant to each of us every time. So that's a more of an individual growth, is that we are all spiritual seekers. So my father has said to me one day, the son, it is the spirituality, it is the love, it is the connections and oneness with who you are, that you need to find yourself. in terms of connecting others. How could you connect with others if you're really not connecting your inner self within? Are you satisfied? Are you happy with your music? Are you happy? If happiness has no boundaries, and you must reflect that in your life. So when I went to the Himalayas, I saw a lot of yogis with ochre robes, a lot of yogis. I realized, my God, my country is full of yogis. This must be so happy. Why? In a country like in India that has mostly highly achieved a spiritual order, that had the most ancient order of the monks represent all over the world, as Swami Vivekananda, still have this whole darkness of caste system. How that is possible? If we have this whole renowned yogis from India, why still are we suffering with the caste of untouchability, with religion, violence, conflict? So two things that my father reminded me, the son, you see all the yogis, the two things in life is very important. One is the dedication, and second in the devotion. I asked him to clarify a little bit. He said, have you ever written a letter to somebody? I said, what that has to mean with the yogis? He says, when you write a letter to your friend, you write the purpose of the letter. Maybe you are asking 500 rupees from your friend. What do you write? Friend, greetings, you write everything, and you write, I'm in a big problem. Please help me to lend me 500 rupees. I'm in a big financial trouble, or whatever you need to visit him. You write the context. That's writing. Is well explaining, is putting your intention, is putting who you are on the hand of divine with inner self, is the devotion. The dedication that you take that letter to the post office, you buy a stamp, you stick a stamp and you post it, that letter will reach. What happened? You go to the post office, you buy a letter, the ticket, you stick it and you post it, but you don't write anything. The letter reaches to your friend, doesn't mean anything. So the yogis have beautiful the stamp, have done the letter, have the ticket, but they just dedicated, they just left everything, surrender everything, but there is no devotions called to it. So it's a life with only dedications. There's no devotion. What is the context you are asking to the divine? That part should not miss. Even if you leave everything and go to the Himalayas, you are not going to achieve your highest path of spirituality. A dedication itself is not going to make you reach to something that you wanted to reach. As the family person we are unable to leave everything. We want all be holding to material life, but we do have the devotion. We cry. We cry for the oneness. We cry for the love. But unable to dedicate. Oh my God, in the morning I have to go to my children's schools. So I agree, but let me just manage my schools and everything. And oh no, my computer is broke, so I have to take it, fix it. Oh, my car need to be fixed. So as a family man, we are stuck so much to dedicate anything, but rather we do have the call. I face a lot of people coming to me every day, crying for the liberations, for the peace and harmony in their life. Have amazing call for the divine, but has no dedication. It's like they want everything, but everything has to become in one plate at their home. That's like a pretty good deal. It's not. And I heard my father saying to his disciple, if I have the power to give you something, I must first make my sons, my daughter to be most renowned people in the world, and then I will give it to you. So it's really the power within us. And my father used to say, our job is really being a catalytic force of holding your hand and witness the oneness. So that was the unity, both the dedication and devotion I learned from my family traditions and background. So the spirituality that would hold us together and the diversity needed to be seen as it is. Not in India, the discrimination is not part of the diversity. Because as today, when one of the slides was saying, we're all in a Vasudhaiva Kutumbatam, we're all the family of the oneness, on the greatness, and that's what the Hindu religion. So my role in United Religions Initiative started, I can share a book that I wrote called Unity in Diversity. And this work actually has paid attention of relationship, bilateral relationship with Bangladesh and India. My co-author come from Bangladesh, Professor Dr. Abdul Hai. We are trying to work together a country. That's an ethnical connectivity. As these two countries separated in the year of 1971 and 72, the India has seen tremendous, the political turmoil, the exploitation, the geographicals, all of that. Bangladesh was snatched out of the same land in so-called Bengal, and Moitra Babu would be very well known about it. That even we have two different religious identity. When it comes to Bengali, the ethnical identity is more stronger than our religious differences. So when we work with the literature of Bengali, we are all together Bengali people. Even they are Muslims, we are Hindus. But this ethnical identity is more stronger. Even in Eastern Europe, the ethnical conflict, the religious conflict, but there are a lot of enrichment with ethnical common interest. And that's how it enabled me, the URI, the path of URI is to really finding out the common cause of how to bring people from internal development to the community services. That we are, the responses are there. The divine has created this world with full of answer, not the conflict. And how individually it is very important for us to connect to that inner self, to that word of love, and we be able to find the answer. It is not the other people have the answer. That's an often mistaken, saying that, well, the organizational expertise is important in terms of designing any plan, but it is really the dream that has to be innate. If I dream about a world of coexistence and harmony and peace, it is a dream has to be innate and inborn in the land. And of course, the role of organizations comes and a part when we design something to deliver in the society. So that part, I believe, and I also my experience and my learning that it is indeed the role of the organization. Each individual, different countries have an important role to play with it. In terms of the unity and diversity, this unity part, the spirituality part is what, again, an example I can give, like one field was so proud of producing the wheat. The field next to it was so proud of producing the rice. Rice is the best things, everybody eats it. Another field says, I am producing the corn. Corn is the most important things in the world. So everybody was so proud to eat their own product. What happened in months later, there was no rain. So when there was no rain, it did not matter. The field of rice was dying, the field of corn was dying, the field of wheat was dying. So what happened, even their own unique identity they had, they all died because lack of rain. The rain represented love, and rain represented the spirituality and the love. So if none of that has the love, it doesn't matter how unique we are, we all die. There is always a relation between the intertextuality relation of each holy books to each other. We have seen during tsunamis that even the lake, the water has waves. Why? Because all the water in the bodies are connected across the globe. Similarly, all the holy books and scripture are connected. In one insult to one holy book is a whole insultment of the holiness. And that's the common thread, the cosmic thread of connecting. It might have been known in different languages. It might have been interpreted in other languages, that doesn't matter. But the cosmic connections of each books, each holy text are all connected. One of my friends, he's also with URI, Dr. Abraham Karikam, has done amazing work in very academic presentations of how all our texts are connected to each other. And that's a beautiful way that to really have the common platform of uniting people in even respecting all our uniqueness together. So I think I would not extend, but allow you to questions. And I think it is very important for each of our life to take our personal development on the base of pure spiritual growth. So to be able to see beyond. So what I was blessed that my life has as my father and my yogi family has helped me, instead of going back and enjoying in traditionally what would have been enjoyed, you were born in a so-called higher caste, in a highest order of the caste systems, and then you were born in a yogi family, that like a double benefits, you could enjoy it. But that's what often is mistaken and misinterpreted, and people have no opportunity to see beyond that. Rather, it is more of a personal enjoyment, how this could help to build a community. So in our temple now, in every temple that my father built, we have deities and we have symbols and sign of different religion. It's very highly regarded space. So everybody comes together in the temple, and there is no discrimination in the name of caste, in the name of religion. Everybody allowed to pray, everybody allowed to roam around anywhere, everybody allowed to touch any objects in the temple, everybody allowed to sleep in the rooms anywhere they want. Of course, there's certain common rules of making ashram clean, just maintaining a time of the prasadam, and of course vegetarian prasadam is being practiced. Compassions to the animals, compassion to the life, more organic vegetations grown in the ashrams. So that what in the rural setup, where you often don't see this kind of temple, it is coming up in India. And it is the music, as I said, the mainstream of the music have been connecting to the people of different faith and traditions and transcend beyond borders and boundaries. I am connected with all the temples in the Himalayas, in some practical setup that I'm connected with Himalayas group, and locally in the Himalayas maintain the temple. Again, in the temple, there's no discrimination. People from different faith traditions are allowed to visit. One in nearby city of Kolkata, another 2 ashrams in different places. All ashram has the equal practice and equal participation. Even male and female, both have the equal participation. So in the temple, women are allowed to pray. Conduct prayer, not only pray. Somebody can take a lead role conducting as a Mataji to conduct a ritual if they like to. Of course, the ashram has their internal some structural rules, regulations. Prayer has to be end by 9:30. It's very common rules. And early morning prayer, afternoon prayer, evening prayer, all that incense. But they're all can be offered in different flower. People can bring their own objects as an offering to the temple. People can feed poor people. There is also social activities runs around the years, including nutritional programs to the poor children, to the women. We recently launched a campaign of the rural women to help them to understand the hygiene and health in terms of creating awareness about women using the sanitary napkins, ashram taking, the religion institution taking a big role of hygiene and health of rural women, which would have been considered very bad practices if you have the experience and knowledge. The women health in rural India, especially in the very, very rural areas, are very difficult situation. And they needed to be still modern days. There are a lot of prejudice. There's a lot of myth and superstition that we need to break through it. So we are also addressing those social issues, common issues. As I said, even drinking water is a big challenge in India. Having safe drinking water. I happen to had a little bit of time with Moitraji speaking about a river being so highly polluted. We're engaging the religious leader to talk about how water, because in every religion, if you see water play an important role in ritualistic. In Hinduism, the Ganga, the river Ganges, is now the Indian court has given as a living entity, Ganges itself like a living entity. So, dumping anything on the river Ganges can be taken a legal action against an organization or against any factory industry. So even that ritual Ganga, as considered the mother, as considered the pure water, are highly polluted. So all waters represent the Ganga river. So we are taking that motions of helping of spiritual leader to talk about providing safe drinking water. And these are the very common issues that are really helping us, because When you talk about religion, in many times in a community when there's open wounds, it's very difficult to talk about interfaith harmony. Like one of the example I can give in Kashmir with Pakistan situation, it's such a big wounds and such a political exploitation. It's very hard to even initiate a conversation of interfaith harmony. So how do you do that? How do you bring in that community? Is absolutely talk about the burning need of the people, about children hunger. And we are using the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of calling attention in policy advocacy of zero hunger. The sustainable development, one of the so these are the areas that we are finding, bringing people of different faith tradition together. But as I said, music has always been a strong path and medium and vehicle that help us transcending any beyond boundaries and caste or creed. And I would be happy to share my music later on the internet, even YouTube. You can find a lot of music community we play it. We don't have particular channel because it's a movement. So we don't find many people do not find themselves too comfortable in security reason to publish their name on the internet. So I would be sharing the link, but some limited videos are available because there are a lot of other work going on that we not necessarily publish on the internet. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So I was going to close it that it is very important to bringing unity in diversity is really important to finding our own space individually, finding our own space within where we are born, why we are born in a family that we are born. And these individual questions to all spiritual seekers is the main key question that lead us toward really believing in oneness. And when we experience that believing in oneness, is really something that we can offer to rest of the communities, rest of the world, and see that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is everybody is the son and children, children of the one divine. Thank you. I would be very happy if you have any questions in terms of any of the project we are doing. Yes, please.
Is that okay, Mr. Dr.
Oh, yes, sorry, Shivaji, please go ahead and ask your question, please.
Anyone else who wants to ask questions or comment, you can use the reaction button and put your hand up. Of course, I'd like to really thank you, Mr. Chakrabarti. This is very inspiring talk, and also on the ground, what you have been doing. Talking is much easier for people like me, but to do things on the ground, to remove the barriers, especially having born in a higher society, and to take this lead and to travel and things like that. Yeah, there are many things that you mentioned about the women's health, water, hunger. I wanted to actually ask if you have your drum next to you, if you can play a few minutes of your drum just to show to our friends your drumming ability.
Sure. I do have I just have to pick it up in the next level. So I'm talking to you from my office. I have a designated office space, but everywhere in my home, in my office, in ashram, I always have a drum there. Because that what represent me when I look at it, it really only represent. And I just wanted to add one thing. When I started learning master classes, I went to a reputed drummer in India. You all might know his name, Ustad Allarakha Khan. He was very famous in the United States, accompanying sitar player Ravi Shankar.
Oh.
And Ustad Allarakha Khan is the father of great drummer Ustad Zakir Hussain, who is still as a very master percussionist in Indian drum, Ustad Zakir Hussain is very well known. His father, Ustad Allah Rakha. So one of the focus area when we have children comes to learn music, we intentionally, we design the course in a way so the Hindu children can learn from a Muslim teacher. Hindu children can learn from a Christian's guitarist. You know, Peter is one of the guitarists who teaches children the guitar. So that intentionally our strategy is taking classes from across the different people of different religion and faith. Normally it won't happen. When I went to learn from Ustad Allah Rakha Khan, I ever felt so fatherly love. In being a so profound Muslim, when he would transcend the recite, the rhythm, I could not feel who was I, what is my existence. It's like the rhythm itself helped me to dissolve into the moment of not having my own existence. Who am I? You know, I am the part of the rhythm. I can say rhythm, and it's very important practice syllable between guru and shishya, disciple, to recite rhythm back and forth. A rhythm. It's like a conversation. So my teacher recite one, I recite one. And I would be happy. I just need to grab my drum. So excuse me, I had to stand up and get my drum. And I will play a little bit for you all.
While you get the drum, I will show them what is on the Facebook that you played.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That was, he is playing without the instrument, with just his mouth.
Yeah. So many times in a big gathering, you know, when I don't have my drum, I always invite children. And children is really such an innocent faces and the energy, you know, like I said, if we have taught our children the separations, we can unteach them. You know, we can always unteach them, you know, what not to take. So I always invite children in the events, and you know, that's always been very joyful for the children to see us. So when I don't have drum, I create all the rhythm from even playing my cheeks. So this is a drum. You many of you might know. This is a 2 sets of drum. This is called tabla right hand. It's the most melodious one. It says. This is more like a melodious side, and the left hand one called dagga is a bass as a steel made. They make it earthen also. The steel and copper, 3 metals can be used to make this drum. This also has a goat hide. It's more a bass. Many of you know the tabla is very famous these days. You know, a lot of the maestros has taken this tabla to rest of the world, you know, and I do have a lot of friends in Australia too, are musicians that I connected with. So they also play Australian drums. So this is a more like a bass one.
The sounds.
Now, the performance of these drums, I'm turning my computer a little bit so you can see. It's both together. This together, two played. I hope you can see the drums.
Yes.
Okay, so this is how we sit. I'm sitting a little on a low height. Normally we sit on the same height because I'm sitting on a chair and it's a little bit higher than the chair, my table is. So this is a two sets of drum. Let me, all right. I can bring it a little bit closer. So that's how we play. Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's how we syllabus goes according to the syllabus. This is how we play the syllabus and the rhythm, and it's all very exuberant. It's all very, notations are connected to the ragas, very ancient notations. Even we can imitate in a modern world. There has been imitation of rhythm according how people speak. So I can imitate each of you speak. You're speaking in my drum. So if I spend couple of minutes with you in face-to-face and I capture your way of speaking, I can imitate your way of speaking on my drums. And it would sound like you are speaking.
The drum speaks.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was good. We had an entertainment as well.
And I think
yeah, there is a hand from Young. Yeah, please unmute yourself, Young.
Zore first. Zore was there.
Sorry, was he? I don't have that. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. So,
Zore.
Yes.
sorry,
Just,
please.
I wanted to say thank you so much because you brought so much joy and happiness to tonight's program. And I'm very happy that you are healed and you are healthy, because we were worried the other night when they said you had, but it's very nice to see you so vibrant and, all well. But I wondered if you could, I don't mind to explain again about dedication and devotion. How did you put them together, this dedication and devotion? You said your dad was saying that people has dedication and they don't have devotion, or what? I didn't get how to apply it in our life.
So in terms of the devotions, when he took me to different places and I saw a lot of yogis, ascended sadhus, people that leave the families and live a very devoted life, a life of following, you have seen maybe in India, there are a lot of yogis, sadhus with ochre of color on the street, like they don't have any worries of the world. They're supposed to be following a path of oneness and achieve spiritual state as you consider. So when I ask him about the sadhus, that means they have already achieved it. Sadhus mean they already have achieved the oneness. They're very happy, peaceful. And why not? Why still there's so much problem in the society if we have 100 sadhus and yogis? So the problem, he explained that it is not only just leaving everything. Dedication is like when you dedicate, you surrender yourself. But, like he given an example of like a letter. Dedication is like taking the letter to the post office and dropping it. You may drop it, you may dedicate, you may leave your family, you may devote yourself totally living an ascetic life, waking up early morning, meditation, doing it. But your inside call, like the devotion, the letter has nothing written on it. So even the letter as symbolized is the dedication, correct dedication, but because that letter you posted on the post did not have any writing. So even when it reaches to the destination, it's a blank letter. So he says all the sadhus and yogis, they have left the family. They have dedicated themselves to the life of oneness, to do chanting prayer, but really they're just doing it. They don't have the inner call, which is the devotion. And the family people who cannot dedicate their time, like they're so busy of taking care of material and practical life, but they have the call because they suffer a lot in daily life. So they have the call for the oneness, but they don't have the time to devote it, to dedicate it. They can't just say, this situation in my life is not going to affect me. I'm going to sit on my meditation in this evening and just call. So they don't have a time for the meditation. They don't have a time for doing that, like the sadhus have. So that's how dedication and devotion he explained. In together too needed to happen. Family people who are like in this practical world, being caught up with lot of regular drama, as have very much beautiful soul that they call. And sadhus, like they left everything, but then they don't have the call. They're like thing is sitting and doing meditation, the divine will come. That's would not work.
Do you think that purpose in life, you said to find your purpose in life, is that the people who are doing the family has to find their purpose in life, but the gurus are already, have they found their purpose in life? Or
so it's very hard to say who found the purpose, who have not found. By looking at anybody wearing ochre robe did not really mean that they found it. It's all kind of part of the illusion that we see. The only purpose in the life, he says, that whatever we are doing in family, we have kids to raise, we have duties, obligations, these are all perfect. But as an inner self, we always must find a time for ourselves to connect with oneness. We don't need to wear a ochre robe. You can be in your family, but you have to have the call, need of your inner self. And you must not attached to all these practical pains that we suffer because we have created this. He says, divine never given up a life of complication. He has given a pure soul to us, or she, however you frame it. So that has to be respected, regarded. Take time for our inner growth. Once you really find it yourself, inner self, yourself own, you will have the answer. It is not that somebody would bring the answer. As a guru, they have the power to really strengthening our feeling, nothing more than that. So whatever my connections with oneness, my feeling, the guru come to strengthen it more. They don't add anything new, but they really strengthen. So I can get recognized within my own process of connecting with oneness.
Thank you very much.
So in other words, no matter how hard we try to connect the whole world together, unless we connect our own mind with our eternal spiritual nature, then essentially all our efforts are wasted. It's not effective. I mean, any contribution may have some good consequence later on, but immediately there is no hope. Shadi has her hand.
Sorry, Yung.
Yes,
Oh, yes, Young. Young
wait.
has already asked that question, no? Okay.
No, that was Zore, now Young.
Oh, sorry, Young. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Maitra Perry, and your famous name, Chakra Bodhi. That chakra, we heard about the chakra before. So you you inherit a very well-known surname. What I'm saying, what your concept, you had some work with organizational behavior or organizational development and community development and in individual development. All these concepts being developed like 30, 40 years ago by Harvard University of America, because we were studying their theory and papers from America, the Harvard University. So anyone who want to know business got to study organizational development. So you develop concept of music, but also business and also spirituality. And I think it's very important. And we can call oneness, transitional time, and transformation. And that is very important, especially if we engage with Japanese business way of doing business. So what I'm saying is, have you, I don't know, not you, but I mean like in general, people in a upper class structure, have they ever feel guilty because they were born privileged? I mean, just a general question. And another one, with the peacekeeping forces of the army, people join the army to keep diversity and to keep unity, balance. Because we spend so much money in the army and defense force just to consolidate the concept of unity. It's not cheap. Unity is very expensive. Million, billion of dollars to keep people in line. So what do you think about that?
So thank you very much. Indeed, I agree some of the things you said about organizational development. One thing about the guilty part, I think it's depend of how people are socialized. So if someone uses the privilege, whatever for certain reason, because when I was born in a family in a higher caste, I didn't have a choice to born wherever it was. I was born. Somebody was born in a lower caste born. So I think the person does not have a choice to choose. But what person have it things to really have right parents and parenting to grow up in a consciousness of oneness. That's very important. Either I had the choice to take a path to be just taking the privilege and not to go out in the community and serve. Maybe all of your blessings and a God grace, the oneness that has triggered my mind to ask questions, the why these people has to bow down to me. And this first question that took me a path where I am today ended up in promoting interfaith in working against the caste system. So that's again individual socializations, their education, their consciousness. So I find that my consciousness was innate that came, and I'm blessed to the divine to giving me this great father that taught me what is oneness is, how to embrace it. That might have happened in my life, but I have seen many people have felt guilty about it. But not necessarily I felt guilty about it, because the system was created before I was born. Whatever reason it was created, it was a wrong system. So I can only speak about me not being supporting the caste system. Many other people do enjoy it. In my known knowledge, so many Brahmin higher castes still enjoy being in the higher caste. I don't accept any bow down, touch feet anymore from elders. Never. So that's my way of life doing it, giving the message to the community, whatever I wanted to give. But to answer to your question, yes, there are still people feel guilty. There are people still enjoy, but there is also a lot of people are trying to work to make a better community.
Thank you.
And in terms of the concepts, I have also studied in various institutions and even in the United States. I find is that the institutional role is very important to really bring up the education syllabus, the system, so masses can learn. But outmost amazing concept of the ideas even came from the most indigenous community from all the world that never had any institution. Like in the Indian tribal community, or even in aboriginals in the country, have an amazing wisdom keepers. As I was telling you, in the forest, there is the whistle language is so strong. You would wonder, what in the world we needed a language? I mean, here, even in music, that's what says, I play a rhythm that makes you feel happy. Why? Because somehow it is reaching to that corner of your heart that we hold the same breath. So that is, institution has given a great opportunity for us to create a book so we could transcend and preserve this knowledge and hand it over to the younger generation. If I did not have a syllabus, I won't be able to teach to my daughter how this rhythm coming out. So there need a framework. So I prioritize and I give importance to institutional education, but I also connect to the ancient wisdom that I have experienced in different parts of the world.
Thank you very much. I think you should come to the Opera House in Sydney, so people can understand your music, and also your music should be going to Japan, Tokyo.
Thank you, thank you. Hopefully we'll see you in some concerts in somewhere in music. And our music is really, if you see music, we do music with people of untouchable with different faith religion. That would be very unique to see on the stage. 27 musicians from different caste traditions are performing music together. And that can be easily said, I can be very proud to say that when people experience that music, people never for a single minute realize that I'm performing with an untouchable person next to me. So this whole concept of division really does not exist in the world of happiness.
Well, we don't understand about untouchable. We in a Western area, we don't understand what is untouchable is all about.
I understand.
But we are not allowed to talk about untouchable. We're not allowed to talk about the other class because we're supposed to be humble.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. We have a couple of more hands, please.
Thank you, Gorty. I really enjoyed your presentation, both the uplifting, spiritual, musical aspect of it, and your thoughts on our essential unity and oneness. Two particular aspects of your presentation really resonated with me, and I'd just like to share that with you. One was your theme of music as an essential tool to create unity and spiritual development. And that really resonated with me as a Baha'i, because in the Baha'i sacred scripture, Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, writes, "We verily have made music as a ladder for your souls, a means whereby they may be lifted up unto the realm of on high." And I was very, very touched by your practical implementation of music as a tool to create unity where circumstances had made essentially prejudice and disunity entrenched for generations. So I pray for your success and happiness and your continued actions in this regard. The second aspect of your presentation that very much resonated with me as a Baha'i was that the story you shared about the devotion and dedication with which your father had taught you. And that again was an essential aspect of the Baha'i teachings, where Baha'u'llah says we don't have just a duty for our own spiritual development. Human beings have a twofold moral purpose. The purpose for which mortal men have from utter nothingness come into the world of being is that they may work for the betterment of the world and to live together in concord and harmony. So it's not just enough, even though it is an amazing and glorious and beautiful thing for people to have the dedication and to dedicate their lives to God. But if that dedication doesn't result in action, even if that action is playing the drums or working hard as a family man to earn food, money for food for your wife and family, that Baha'is believe work is worship. So those twofold moral duties, that dedication and devotion, as you put it, and your father explained so clearly for you, is an essential aspect of life. And connecting with our spiritual essence can come about not just by the path of renunciation, but through the path of service to humanity and service to other human beings. And thank you once again. I really enjoyed every aspect of your talk, and I'd love to learn more about your music and the ashrams and other services that you do.
Thank you. And indeed, I was very blessed. When first time I visited the Baha'i Lotus Temple in Delhi, I was very honored. And one of my friend is very well connected with the Baha'i Temple in Delhi. It's a Lotus Temple, very famous temple in India. And he took me to the temple, and when I go to the Baha'i Temple, so many times I went. Every time I go to the Baha'i Temple, I find myself speechless. I find myself really, it's an area, and when I sit down and pray, I find it's an assembles of all the great ones that I find the sense. And so my friend, you would know, his Dr. A.K. Marchant, he's also very well connected with the temple, with the authority, who take care of the temples, and he hosts a lot of events. So I wanted to tell you that it really attracted me a lot. I'm so was influenced by even being in the temple, and I always seek to go there again and again. So thank you very much.
Oh, as a teenager, I offered a year of service at the Baha'i Lotus Temple in New Delhi. And also as part of the Baha'i community, they have development programs for women and children, very similar to what you were speaking about near Shimla, in very remote villages. So I had the bounty of being able to do some small portion of service there. And I have a great love for the Indian subcontinent and its peoples, who I found have been a wealth of spiritual religions, from Hinduism to Buddhism to Islam, Zoroastrianism. And it's just an amazing, wonderful work that you're doing to create unity between all those groups. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Raji, who is next? I lost my connection for a while.
Marina?
Yep, okay. Thank you for giving us this talk today. It was really nice to hear about the caste system in Sri Lanka. I'm from Sri Lanka, and we have the caste system there too. And I just want to know how, when you were growing up or as a student up to, before you did your higher studies, how did you feel when the other classmates, did they sort of teach, respect you as a Brahmin and started, bending down on your things or not? At the school, did they sort of give you the opportunity or not opportunity, treat you like a Brahmin, and the other students, would they come and bend down, or how was it at school life?
So it's very interesting. My first experience of feeling that privilege was when I was in the village. This old lady came and their family came, and we went to visit their home. It was like afternoon, 4 o'clock. And I was supposed to eat the first guava. That lady has planted tons of guava trees in her backyard. So when I went to her home, she asked me that if I would go and pick up a guava and eat, because as a Brahmin, that gesture for her, there would be the first guava in the tree has to be eaten by a Brahmin. I did not know that. So what happened at 4 o'clock, I went with a bunch of my friends because she invited to have guava. So as like I was like in a 6th or 7th standard, or maybe 5, I don't remember the exact year, but I went with a lot of my friends, like 3 or 4. I said to my friend, let's go. This lady has a guava and she invited me, let's go to have guava. Moment I walked into her yard, she asked only me allowed to go to the tree, not to the other children. And Dad was like, what? I am going to go to eat guava and not my friends. And she says, no, they will eat. First you go, take the guava and they will eat. Now my friends who were standing behind the door, they knew. I did not know why I'm the only one to go and to pick up a guava and eat and not my friends. But my friend knew because they were from lower caste. So I am as a Brahmin and also the son of a priest, highest order. If I go pick up the guava and eat first, that it's a blessings for her. Maybe she will have tons of guava in her life. So to sell in the market. That was very difficult. And I denied right there. I says, no, I'm not going to get a guava and eat. And my friend is not going to go. So then she hiddenly closed the door, took us to the yard, says, please do not tell anybody. You come silently, you get the guavas and eat here and then go. Nobody going to take a guava with them except me. So my friends, they convinced me, it's okay. Let's her do that because we are allowed to go and take the guava. 4 or 5 of us went to the yard. Everybody jumped on the tree and started snatching guavas. We were so enjoyable. And we were sharing guavas. And she then, finally, when we were leaving, she asked everybody, make sure nobody has a guava, but I should take the guava because that guava should first go to my family. So then she can start selling it. And that was really something privileges everybody enjoyed. I raised the question, different thing I didn't know. But as you're answering to your question, a lot of people enjoy it. And the things has not changed in the rural area much. Even the lower caste people are not allowed to fetch a bucket of water from the same well that are located in the higher caste community. Even the water died out, they have to walk miles to fetch a water. The next well, they would not be allowed to take a water from the well because its well belongs to the higher caste community. Still it exists.
And could I also ask, this is nothing, why was that the reason Maharaja community was abolished of all the wealth and things? Was it due to caste or what was in Delhi area?
So, it's a power. Maharaja system was absolutely about the power and corruption. It's
not with the caste?
No, Maharajas was not more of a related to caste. Even if there was a higher caste Maharajas, that double benefits. But in overall, if somebody, a Maharaja is wealth, power, and politics, they become Maharaja. The system now demolished after 1947, so they demolished the system. But Maharaja were mostly a power holder, a kind of politic. They were not necessarily from higher caste. If someone was higher caste, that's an add-on benefit to the Maharaja. But they were mostly of controlling and power.
Usually they are the warrior caste.
Thank you.
Colin had a question. Colin, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chakraborty. I think it's really exciting. I think what you describe is constructive and unifying, and it's the most important work in the world to be done at the moment, overcoming prejudices. And you gave some examples of the culture and habits and expectations of ordinary people, making it a little bit of an obstacle. But I'm just wondering if there's been, if you get any active resistance from government or religious institutions who maybe appeal to the scriptures and try to undermine your work that way.
Yeah, I was thrown out of a village. I was chased out of a center. I was beaten one time. I was thrown out of a community. I was chased by 200 mobs with sticks. I managed to run away. I was, yes, this all incident had happened in my life. And things, as I said, many things we don't publish because if things are changing in the life, that's the most important part. So because we share with the much close groups and we don't publish videos and photos, we're very more sensitive on things that we record in our work. But also, as when I said the rejections is there, I also felt rejections out of my own relatives. There I had a lot of relatives are not keeping touch with my family anymore. And especially things has been more difficult when my father left his physical body, because my father was a very prominent tantric yogi. Well, he had a little power to stay on. So I also have been more sensitive since my father left, because that support is not there anymore. But I know his supports, in transcendental support is always there. But having a physical presence of my father has a lot of differences made in my life. So I'm being a little more careful. But again, the lot of good initiatives are from the government and big lawyers in our country. They're talking about in generally preserving the human rights. So many times even we cannot speak about against directly and caste system, but we can speak about the human rights. So there are various strategies, ways we are adopting to address these issues. Many places we can't directly speak about breaking caste systems. Like in Rajasthan, the higher caste is so strong that you even cannot start a conversation, or you can talk about the human rights. So these are the areas, strategies we have to be very careful and take help of various organizations to initiate a conversation even at local level, engaging government, police department. We do that. All religious institutions. I'm very well connected with the religious institution across the countries.
Thank you for sharing that, and stay safe.
And I wear as a thread, I don't wear often, but the thread symbolizes Brahminism. One time the thread was torn apart, my shirt was torn apart, the thread were burned, and in front of 200 people, because I'm Brahmin. So also there's also backlash, I witnessed, experienced in my life.
But I thought, Mr. Chakraborty, I thought caste system is not allowed in law.
There's a lot of laws, things coming out, but a lot of communities are these days even stronger than the law in the country. I mean,
local
So government also try to be more sensitive, because if a violence flare up, even just sometimes it is very hard to implement a law, because there's so rejections from a huge number of peoples in community, and that's like sometimes government backup. So it has to be taken in a way of negotiating, mitigation, and conversation. By force, government even unable to implement some of the laws.
Yung has her hand raised.
Thank you so much. You talk about the law and discrimination. They are what they call direct discrimination and indirect discrimination. And especially with religious studies, always indirect discrimination is hard to detect and, justify. And that's another thing. Just I will create a story. If you can help me to answer this. There are only one space in heaven. Two candidates turned up. One said, I did a lot of service for the God. Can I have that space in heaven? Another one said, the second one said, I'm from a high class society. All I have is only cash. And I have done a lot of donation by cash to the institution to organize human rights activities and, helping to rescue people. So only one place at heaven. So which one gonna be chosen by God? One got no money, but had a lot of services. One with all the cash and, because he was in a ruling class, he got so much money. So which one go to heaven? Which one get a space in heaven? And that's not nothing to do with indirect discrimination.
Right.
It's a merit appointment.
Wow. Indeed, we use a lot of stories, and real stories in breaking this discrimination. The only thing, the hate in the mind is a more crucial to really have to delete that hate. How you do that? We are taking the advantage of the laws. Somebody says, I think Colin said, it is, or Moitraji said, it is really that the law you cannot discriminate people in the name of caste and creed and religion. In the law is there these days. But this country has a lot of long stories of discrimination. I mean, laws is there, needed to start. Definitely, there's no question about it. The country needed to work up some law so that give some parameters and boundaries so we can work. But what happened, all these traditions, all these practices of thousands, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 practices, it's very hard to peer in the approach of law. It has to be approached in a socially, in a locally, so people understand. And discrimination is really many times it's in the veins in the society, and it's so open that it does not even allow to discuss to bring the laws. So as I said, many times we are working as a human rights activist to talk about every human being has to be regarded, has to be respected, cannot be discriminated. In the cities, it's coming up well, but in the rural areas, it's very strong these days. And government has no control many times. In last couple of months ago, there was 2 killings just because in the name of religion. It happened. Government has given a notification that nobody should talk about this because somebody in the ministry spoke against an Islamic Prophet Muhammad and did not speak anything bad, but spoke something. So in support to her, there's so many community people started talking about it's okay because it was something that Prophet Muhammad married a young woman, something, but there was nothing so bad. But even to saying that, government immediately, this lady was from the government immediately sacked her, and government immediately thrown her out of the positions. But what happened in community, people started talking. Some groups were supporting her. Yeah, she never talked bad. She just talked the truth. Next day, 2 people were beheaded right away. Even the government, whole country, nothing could be done. Law was there. The guy said, I'm happy to kill this man because he said against the prophet. I'm happy to die, but I killed him. It's my justice that I needed to make it. So he just went in a shop on open daylight in a CCTV camera. The whole act was covered. This man was being beheaded in front of a CCTV camera. And this guy who did it, he says, I'm fine. I'm proud of doing that. I mean, this level of hate is sometimes cannot be even combated by law. The guy, even he's punished his mind, he says, I'm punished, but I did a good thing. And this, like this whole extreme groups of various smaller clusters in different villages. I work in Nepal. Nepal is so difficult, even having a law that you cannot discriminate. The women were beaten. Even how interesting, how double standard, how hypocrite it is. The women from untouchable community get raped by the higher caste people. And then you don't find that they are, where is the casteism? A lower caste woman went to fetch water and then she was beaten to death and finally she was raped. And Nepal government couldn't do that because the higher caste community was came onto the street. Like why this woman went to fetch the water. It just happened in recent years. And that's even a law could not stop this. So, but we needed a legal institution. The law is really working great. The government is also helping institutions that are working to address this happening. I would not say that you would not see much more in Calcutta, in Delhi, in Mumbai. people are more liberal, people are more accepting and not discriminating. But out of the 80% populations in India live in the rural area, which is more affected by this discrimination of descent and caste-based discrimination.
Mr. Perry, do you still have time for further questions and discussions? Do you have time? In that case, I would ask Mr. Chakraborty one question, rather a request, because we have had a conversation this afternoon. It was quite elaborate. And he cited one example where all communities, irrespective of cultural differences, religious differences, they all got their act together, and they stopped a project which was polluting their river system and essentially their life. And they were able to do this. And at the end, what happened? I wanted to request you to share that story with my other friends.
Thank you, Ashit Matraji. Yes, indeed, we are also working to combat some of the environmental degradation issues in the region, especially in the last couple of years. Eastern part of India has seen tremendous damage in the environment, especially by the mining and extracting companies, because of some state are very enriched minerals. So in recent years, government has created a policy called land bank. And under the land bank, uncultivated land were given to the corporates for the mining. And it's supposed to be for the growth, so-called economical growth for the community, but it has not yet happened. Most of the people that was suffered is indigenous people called tribal people, because they lived along the coastal area of the river, bank of the river, in the forest, in the jungles, and their whole livelihood, their spiritual expressions, all of the people depend on the nature environment. So Damodar is a river in the Chotnagpur plateau covering the 3 states of the eastern part of India, is the main river. 20 years back from now, there's a lot of industries were allowed to set up industries along the bank of this river Damodar. What happened in 5-10 years later, they're all digging, mining coal, bauxite, manganese, all the natural resources, and dumping the debris into the riverbed. Pretty soon, in 5 and 6 years later, the river became a small drain. The main source of the water, there were sources of the drinking water and the harvesting water for the community of the tribal, for the community of Muslims, Hindus, or even some Christian communities were highly affected. United Religions initially started mitigating, calling people of different faith tradition together to address the issue of this environmental degradation. We have worked with the government institutional, giving us the data of how the river was before and how now the river water pollutant. What are the pollutants are being found in the water? So that statistic itself made the government in an awkward situation. Either they have to say, no, the water is good. That means your institutional record is false, or you agree the record we collected from your institution that this water is getting polluted, that do something about it. So that negotiation mitigation had taken into the level of engaging people from different faith tradition. We found out the whole system of this land acquisitions law by the government was something fishy. And who knew about it? As the people from the Christian community that never gave land to the corporate. And we went to find out why the Christian community did not give the land, why the tribal and the Muslim community gave the land to the corporate. We found out the Christian community already knew the whole notion behind this industrialization. So they objected it. But because people were not together, so we brought people together of Muslim, Christian, Hindu, and tribal. An open forum, we discussed the matter. And they were aware that these are the system's laws that we can challenge the government against this industrialization. 30 PIL, called public interest litigation, were filed on the court against the more than 200 industries in that bank of river. Guess what happened in 20 years? All these industries were ordered not to dump any debris or their industrial effluent to the river. In one state where I live, a neighboring state, the water can be drunk directly from the water from the river right now. It's so clean in 10 years. So what happened? These 10-year battles now need to expand to the different state so the whole river can be saved. This is called Damodar Bachao Andolan, to save the river movement. Why it became a movement? We started engaging villagers across the bank, so nobody get identified, because in the corporate cahoots, and you know what had happened, security threats, the life. So nobody here as in a leader, the community is the leader. So all the people living along the bank, so tribal people are raising voices because their livelihood is being threatened. You know, you could see the state, the reports we had from the health department. The tribal people had affected with silicosis, pneumocosis, the tuberculosis, all that. Because of what? So all this disease report, all this institutional report, all the stakeholder, we were able to bring together to address these issues. And what happened? The government, the court put a ban to these 30 industries that they cannot put any more debris and effluent to the river. In fact, they have to contribute enough money to the community to clean the river. And that is just because the fruit of people of different faith traditions, of different communities coming together to address these issues, that yes, water is precious. And in 2030, 200 cities in India are going to be out of the drinking water. The scarcity of the water level is going to that extreme. You would know a city called Chennai already faced that problem this year, that more than 5,000 families had to fetch water from a different city to drink a glass of water. This year it happened. So it's a tremendous ecological disbalances. Our biodiversity is a great threat. And our tribal communities are the most greatest danger, in the first row of the greatest danger faced by our indigenous community, because they are the people who existed with nature for years and years. So our movement named Jal Jamin Jungle, the water, Jal Jamin is the land, jungle is the forest. It belongs to the tribal community.
Jal Jamin Jungle.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So
You can also type the Damodar Bachao Andolan.
Tracy, Robert, do you have any comments? Ian, we have not spoken.
Thank you. It was a great night. You were very inspiring, and I wish you God's blessing and strength. Thank you very much. Very uplifting.
Thank you. And Robert?
Robert.
Ian, okay. And Zore, you had your hand up and then you went away. Is the last question maybe?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you. Robert, is Robert talking or not?
No.
No. Thank you. And also to
probably not.
No, it's okay. You.
So okay. So we wrap it up. Oh, there is a couple of chats in here.
Zore.
Oh, I see. Okay, you already said this is a Damodar Bachao Andolan. Yes, that's there in the chat.
I had one question about your father, that, I mean, from your family, that are you the only one who is so much inclined with people and everybody around you, or from the birth, I mean, from very young age you were like that, or did you learn it from your father? I mean, in the family was all the same, your sisters and brothers, they all having the same upbringing? I mean, that's I was going to say, is that you, or is that your father, or is that your family? Something.
I would also say that it came from my grandfather. My grandfather was a school teacher. In the early 70s, before my birth, there was a huge communist movement in our country. The communist movement had been very tough for many families because they were just snatching land and giving to the poor people. So my family was very highly affected. And so my grandfather was a school teacher. And at those days, the regard and the high respect as a school teacher he had, that my father had a great start, but then due to the movement, my grandfather died when my father was about 3 years of age. So that put my father in a situation of being even a Brahmin community and finding himself is a very tough situation because of not having a father. So he took the spiritual path and he influenced all of us. So not only me, my brother, we are 4 of us, 2 sisters, 2 brothers, 4 of us very highly influenced by my father. And because of his teaching and his principles in the villages, people cannot discriminate in the name of religions or caste anymore. So in our community, there's no discrimination right now, but in other village, next village, you would see we are highly regarded. And then sometimes it's very hard to, you just go and just to object that. So sometimes even I do participate in a ritual as a villagers where I'm being regarded. And that, I don't take it so internally, just, thinking and hoping that in one day, the situation will change. So even these days, we do also attend and presence, in rituals that are divide people because of caste. But, understand that one day this will break.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So wonderful thing, Mr. Chakraborty, you have amply demonstrated how important it is to be devoted to one's, to have the devotion and dedication. And in the dedication department, one can do certain practices in a mechanical way without the sense of selflessness. And that is a misconception of religion, misconception of religious guidance. And that is very widespread, it's very common, very, very, very clear from your talk. So thank you very much for your illuminating conversation. And I hope we'll get to be connected again, and perhaps again and again.
Thank you. And each of you are musicians. So I would give you a home task, if we see or not. When you all sit down, each of you have a rhythm inside of you. That rhythm is universal. It's not belongs to musicians, it belongs to everybody. Even an animal have rhythm within inside. Each of you have a rhythm, the rhythm of oneness, the rhythm of divine, and the rhythm of however you frame them, Pachamama, Mother Earth, that rhythm. So whenever we are there, just even clap yourself and regard yourself, that divinity inside of each of us. Let's recognize that. And let's play a rhythm whenever we are there, the rhythm of Om, rhythm of Amen, whatever you frame it. But it is important that we continue playing this rhythm. So,
just add one particular word to this. This rhythm is derived from Sanskrit riti, which is law of nature. That's what exactly Mr. Chakraborty is saying.
I'm talking about the water project you're facing is a very big project. And I think the first thing in any leaders over there in your country, probably the cash donation is what they need first. And then they will give services, because if you wait for services and with no cash donation, people will die quickly of thirsty. So that's how, but I mean, heaven should create another position for 2 people get into the heaven gate. One is cash donation and one is services. So I answer my own question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
And,
God
Yes.
bless.
Thank you so
So
much.
thank you again and good night.
Good night. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Ave Maria.
Good night.
Good
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 night.
night.
Thank you. Thank you.
and hope